He's Chase Sr. I'm Harrison Graham, talking some Dallas Mavericks basketball here on Any Given Thursday by Chat Sports. If you want more Mavs news and rumors, hit that subscribe button, youtube.com/MavsTV. Let's start with some trade stuff, Chase. That's the hot topic right now in the NBA. Now, it appears that the Mavs are going to be out on Myles Turner. This one coming from Marc Stein, who's well connected to the Mavs and the NBA as a whole. He says the Mavs don't plan on pursuing Turner. Pointed to a couple of things. Number one, this defense has risen to a top 5 defensive rating in the NBA as a reason not to go after him. And then also, Chase, you got to factor in the lingering foot issue, that stress reaction that Turner's dealing with.
Yeah.
It sounds like the Mavs have pivoted. They've been linked to Turner a lot in the past. Doesn't look like they're going to go in this direction here.
Kind of unfortunate, right? Because, yes, the Mavericks certainly need offense. They need shooting. They need dribble drive creators, even though Jalen Brunson, who you talked about earlier this week, is having a career year. But if Myles Turner is healthy and you put him on the Mavericks, they make an already very good defensive team even better.
Yep.
And offensively, he can be a stretch big. And actually, I know that Kristaps Porzingis might clog up the lane a little bit, but if there's any way to maybe trade him away, I kind of like Myles Turner ahead of Kristaps Porzingis for this current team. He's led the NBA in blocks the last 2 years, so he's a lead as a rim protector. 13 points per game, 7 rebounds. He's shooting around 51% from the floor, and as I mentioned, he's grown his offensive game where, man, I mean, he can really let it fly from deep and get hot from that area of the floor.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's gotten better and better offensively throughout his career, but the problem the last couple of years for him in Indiana is him and Sabonis just, it's hard to play them together. It's just kind of a clunky fit. They have different skill sets, but 2 7-footers in the same lineup, it's just not really what teams do anymore. I will say this, I'd like Turner in Dallas for all the reasons you just mentioned, but I think currently it's actually not the biggest need. Now, earlier in the year I was like, he could use a better big, but KP's actually been pretty reliable. Outside of his stint on the COVID list, he's only missed 4 or 5 other games this year. Had an early injury earlier in the year, but for the most part, he's been healthy and he's played well. He's been that kind of Robin for Luka. He's averaging like 20 and 8. He's played better defense this year as well. Maxi Kleber's been a nice defensive big. Also, you could certainly use Turner, but I actually think a bigger need is another shooter. This team has struggled to shoot the ball at times this year, or like a guard creator type off the bench. Like, honestly, I think Dennis Schroeder running your second-team offense would be great.
That's not bad.
Keep Jalen Brunson in the starting lineup with Luka, because those two, like you look at the advanced metrics, all this stuff, like when they play together, it's a really good lineup.
Yeah.
So you don't want to mess with that. But Dennis Schroeder with Tim Hardaway, who's kind of flipped with JB as that 6-man role, those two in the backcourt coming off your bench, those are two guys that would start for a lot of teams. I think that would be something I'd be very interested in doing if I was the Dallas Mavericks. Will the Mavs make a trade before the deadline? Are they going to pull the trigger? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I've got a silent source that says they plan to be active, so we'll see if that ends up happening. Let us know what you guys think. Will Dallas make a trade before the NBA trade deadline? Now, if you want to pick up this sweet hoodie for 25% off, you better do it now because it's a limited time only deal. Go to chatsports.com/Mavs hoodie. It's a good looking hoodie too, available in most sizes right now. Link will be in the comments. It'll be in the description. It's getting cold here in Dallas. I mean, I was driving to work today and I sent Chase and a couple other guys a screenshot. I was like, this ain't it. This wind chill of 13 degrees. And, he was like, I should have gone on a run this morning. Oh, I'm from the East Coast. Well,
I love that walk to work this morning, man.
It's cold. That's all I'm saying. Warm up with this hoodie, chatsports.com/Mavs hoodie. Go pick one up today. Now, the Mavs Fan Nation Sports Illustrated site, they've been cooking up a lot of trade rumors, and I wanted to talk about this one because we haven't talked about it a bunch here on Dallas Mavericks today. How about Jerami Grant? You like this idea to get him to Dallas potentially? Maybe you pivot from a big in Turner to a wing in Grant?
I like Grant as a player. I give him a lot of credit for getting in the lab and improving his offensive arsenal to a significant degree. The only thing I don't like about Jerami Grant, I'm not sure what position he plays, and I understand we're in a positionless era of NBA basketball and basketball as a whole, but as pertaining to the Dallas Mavericks, like, where do you slot him in at? And what is he? Where does he play? And what role do you expect of him? Now, with the Pistons, he's averaging around 20 points per game. He was excellent last year as well. But he wouldn't get those amount of field goal opportunities with the Dallas Mavericks because those are primarily going to Luka, Brunson, Hardaway. So the numbers this year have been good. By the way, he's out right now with a thumb injury.
Yep.
I just don't know what position he would play for the Dallas Mavericks. Now, he'd give you a lot defensively because he's positionless on that end of the floor.
I think he'd
but
be more
offensively,
efficient, too.
we talk about clunky fits. Like, I think it might be clunky.
I think the efficiency would go up, number one, because he's taking a lot of shots when he's playing for Detroit, 41% from the field. I think if you got Grant where he would plug in to your lineup, I think he'd be your stretch four. I think KP would full-time play center at that point, which is when they're at their best anyways, when he's playing the 5. You plug in Grant on the 4, obviously depending on who you would have to trade to get a Jerami Grant. The rest of your lineup's TBD, obviously Luka. I don't think Brunson would be involved in a Jerami Grant trade. And then maybe, Dorian Finney-Smith plays the 3, Josh Green, whoever you want to plug in there, depending, again, on who you trade, would be the guys that you would have to figure out the rest of that starting 5. But I think Chase, he'd be a stretch 4 for this lineup. I think that's where he would play. So this was the trade idea they cooked up. I go back and forth on it. Tim Hardaway, Josh Green, and a future first for Grant. Green's finally starting to emerge a little bit. Tim Hardaway's not having the best year, but he's still a guy who can be a flamethrower. I don't care a ton about the 2027 first. That's 5 years from now. That's not really the bother to me. It's does Grant outweigh THJ and Josh Green, especially if Green keeps improving? That's the question you have. So, thoughts? I mean, what do you think on that front?
Ah, man. I don't really like it because I'd rather have Tim Hardaway Jr. offensively as a floor spacer than have Jerami Grant, which gives you more of an edge defensively. For me, it's Hardaway over Grant, not necessarily as an individual player,
for this team,
but for this team specifically.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Let us know who wins the trade. Type M for Mavs, type P for Pistons. I kind of agree. I like Grant. I do. I think he can fit with most teams, but do I want to give up 2 of my rotation guys for him? And also, is the last year and a half just good stats, bad team guy? What if you bring him into a roster that's pretty deep here, and it's like Josh Richardson 2.0. It just doesn't work out. And then you're like, well, we've done this again. We lost Seth Curry in the J. Rich trade. Now, let's just trade Tim Hardaway. Grant adds more to the table. Well, what if all of a sudden he's 13 points per game and the efficiency doesn't improve? Then it's like, well, you haven't improved.
Right.
So I think that's the risk that you would be having to take there, and I'm not sure if I would do that for Jerami Grant. I'll tell you this, if they trade for him or anyone else, we'll break it down here on Dallas Mavericks Today, our Mavs-only channel, youtube.com/MavsTV. Subscribe today. More news, rumors, coverage all year long, especially leading up to the NBA trade deadline. Okay, I wanted to hit this real quick. And obviously, I'm not saying Luka Doncic went anywhere. He's been good all year. But is he back?
Luka standards.
Is he really back? I think he had his best game of the year against the Raptors the other night, Chase. 41 points on 13 of 24 shooting, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. He was a maniac in this win over Toronto in a game that Dallas only scored 102 points. He had to be really good. He had when you factor in his assists, well over 50% of the offense came from Luka Doncic. He looked good. He looked spry. I think the conditioning's coming around. That lift was back on that step-back 3 as well. I like what I'm seeing from Luka. I think he's starting to turn a corner here, Chase.
Yeah, no, he looks to be getting into better shape. And look, he had that ankle injury, a couple of other nagging things, and he didn't come into training camp in shape. I mean, he admitted it himself. That's not me ripping him. I thought Jeffrey Cooperstein, diehard Mavs fan, producer here at Chat Sports, made a good point in saying, last night's game was the best that Luka has looked all year in terms of him just being himself. Now, what's crazy, Luka is so talented and so gifted that he can get by in decent shape and still put up stupid numbers. But do you want to be elite, some of the best players that have ever played, or do you want to be just great/good? Hey, reach for the stars, Luka. Your potential is limitless. It is so profound, and to see it is unbelievable. So the fan in us just wants to see him maximize his abilities because he is truly one of one.
Yeah, I mean, that playoff series against the Clippers last year, I don't care if they lost it. It's one of the best 7-game individual series I've ever seen
for sure.
in my life.
Literally, put the team on his back. Let's ride.
This game was how he played that whole series. I mean, this is the best game he's played all year. I mean, a 40-point, almost triple-double. He's rebounding really well as of late as well, which tells me he's getting more physical. He's getting more involved. The energy is increasing there because earlier in the year, you mentioned coming out of shape. Well, you get into these third and fourth quarters, he's huffing and puffing a little more. I think that conditioning is starting to get back after coming into the year out of shape, after the COVID stint. I think he might be turning a corner here, and that's a very, very good thing, which means, is he back? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. It's only one game of going crazy, but he's starting to play a little bit better. I think he might be back. Let us know what you guys think in the comments.